so I'm going to skip that because I'm pretty sure that's going to need it. Go ahead and load it up. Okay, so we just got done digging our last stuff over here. What these are is these are specialty potatoes. Some of you ladies have already been on the digger this year. What that does is all the potatoes are in rows out there. It just digs them up into a chain, goes on another chain, a whole lot of spinny stuff, fills up that bunker right there, and then the bunker lifts up as he'll do right now, and it just dumps into the chain. So that bunker right there, I think the important thing for everybody to know is that bunker of potatoes is 8 rows for this entire pass right here. So that's around 130 sacks, which is 100,000 pounds, or 10,000 pounds, which is enough potatoes to feed 100 people per year for every potato they could possibly eat if they ate above average. It would feed about 50 Russians. You guys need more potatoes. Let me get this guy some real quick. So this is Lower Klamath. This is an area that I find to be really special in the basin. I'll go with this. No, he's going to go with this one. You're good. One of the unique things about the Klamath, or the Lower Klamath out here, is we're a totally different soil than you're going to see in other parts of the basin. So you can see, and this it gets worse down there, but you can see it's almost like baby powder right now. This is old lake bed. This is the same kind of stuff. You'll kind of see it running wide. What Kalana used to be before they blew the dikes and put that back underwater. But you're looking at 25 to 35% organic matter in the soil. We've got a bunch of researchers from Oregon State right now that are coming down here and looking at all the unique factors of this. But I think they've sampled 100 farms in the Pacific Northwest. Half their sampling is being done right in this area now. So this is a pretty special area for growing row crops. We've got an extremely deep topsoil. Erosion's not really a problem. We've got, 30, 40 feet before you have to worry about getting into any problems. That being said, as you can imagine, this soil flows like a son of a gun if there's no crops. The reason that would be important to the Klamath Basin is quite simply, if we did not get water out here and this just turned into a deathbed, Klamath might not see the sun anytime the wind is blowing this direction. It would shut down the base without a question. The jets would not be able to fly, and it would just be a tremendous waste of resources. We usually plant the potatoes here around June. I bet you can guess when we're usually harvesting. This area in particular does good for reds, yellows, specialties, and chipping potatoes. Russets, not so much. You don't get much of a skin set. I would say it's not the strongest ground in the basin from a yield standpoint, but from a quality standpoint, this area is tough to do. All of these fields, when we're done, we're going to flood all these up for the winter, especially when the refuge was dry. We tried to leave standing crops, leave tramp strips, everything else. This I'll explain here in a second. But we were trying to do our best to try to create the wetland the birds need, and we had a tremendous amount of the Pacific Flyway still stopping here when there was nothing anywhere else. We've got raptor poles around all of the fields. They're kind of tough to see. Don't look that way because my new pivot knocked them all down. But there's little poles over here on the corner. Those are for the birds to try to keep down the mice. On top of that, all those big hay barns over there are completely full of barn owls. We had hundreds of owls in those barns up until this year. Bird flu probably wiped out 90% of them. So I'm looking forward to them coming back. That's about 2,000 mice and owls a year. Between that and the flooding, that's how we keep everything down. If we did not flood and we did not have the birds down here, like last year, even though we got some of the flooding done, the mice ate half our crop by the time we got down to harvest. Grazing test fields before where you got snow on top, and the mice actually ate all the alfalfa to the point where it looked like it was rototilled when the snow came back. So snow's also a problem when we're not flooding because of the legal layer, and I cannot stress how important the birds are to us for making this harvest. So it really matters not having the entire wild to think about. So it all matters a lot. Does anybody have any questions about potato stuff first off before I transition to questions? So I love seeing the coyote come in the spring. I think they're awesome. So that's probably my biggest factor. Also, they come out here and they just eat a ton of mice. Like I remember when I first started farming 15 years ago, one of my favorite things to do was to come up and work up the ground at night, because you would have 15 or 16 coyotes running around the tractor all night playing games with mice, and it's just like fire. So anything that helps with my rodent problem, I'm all for. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, so you guys all have gift bags, I believe, either that or Chelsea's being stingy, one of the two.
Maybe a little of both.
All those potatoes, at least 2 of the 3 varieties in those bags came from this field right here, actually just Florida right here. So you will notice when you're eating those, they should have more of an earthy flavor, and they should be quite a bit different than a potato you would buy, especially an Idaho potato. I'm not going to get into that crap, but they're horrible. Because we're able to get so much natural, so your synthetic fertilizers only have a purpose, but it does not build into a flavor profile. We used to do these big competitions, Pacific Northwest, for who raised the best tasting potato, and every year it was the potatoes from this basin that were just taking it, and I individually, out of this ground, won 6 out of 6 in the special. And this was like, I want to say they had 200 jobs, and it was a big deal at the Port of Wood. They still had that open. I may have said that wrong. That seems like a 6. It was a blue thing. Anyways, it was a pretty good deal. So you'll notice these soils will release around 70 to 110 units of nitrogen just from the breakdown of the organic matter every year. So that's why it's also really important. That's your flavor characteristics. It's actually, it's natural plant food. It's like planting in a composted garden kind of thing. So that's why we cater primarily to food service chefs. So the potatoes being dug out of here go everywhere from LA to Portland to the Washington, DC. I have got a phone call from Martha Stewart before saying that her potatoes were not good enough for the White House and we had to FedEx them over. So there is a little bit of something to it. Also, everybody else's quality was bad then. We might have been the only people thinking. But yeah, we're primarily a rotation of potatoes and grain. A lot of this is organic grain. This is not this year, but the fields that direction are. We do conventional potatoes primarily out here, rotate through. It's not that we don't like doing organic potatoes. They don't sell for anymore a lot of years, especially the specialties. But this is our shot to clean up the weeds, clean up the disease, get a good culture, get the fertilizer back in, build everything up, come back 3 years later, and then go hit the organic rotation, then go right back through. You got to clean it up every once in a while, or else you're going to end up with a lot of quackgrass out here. Quackgrass is impossible to kill, and it'll put holes right through the potatoes. So we have to clean it up every once in a while, or else we'll just have potato with grass in the middle of it. I haven't found a market for that yet. The only downside with growing down here, which is a big downside, is because this soil is so light penetrates it. So we do have a little bit more greening than you would have others. When we plant a variety that sets shallower, we throw 30% away right off the top. So that's a bummer, and that really depends on what the weather's doing and everything else for how deep they set. But in general, we throw away 20 to 30% right off the top. You throw in all the stuff that's odd shaped or has any problems, you throw away another 10, 15%. 65% of this at best is going to hit the consumer. The rest of it gets thrown away, and that is your grocery prices. So wish people took a little bit uglier produce every once in a while, because it's literally over. Yeah, other than that, there's some onions being grown over there. That's a new thing out here. We tried garlic once out here. I will never do that again. But it's a pretty simple rotation in there. We are very much focused on trying to help out the birds when we can. We are very much on trying to leave as little impact as we can, and we really do a lot of soil sampling and everything because we put on as little chemicals as we can. As a matter of fact, for my blight material, we've switched to a 70% of our blight material just being copper, because we want to just make sure that we're not doing anything more than we have to. So, you know, a lot of effort on trying to make sure that we're not hurting any more than we want to. We're going to be looking at doing monarch butterfly habitat along the edges of the field, potentially as early as next year. Also, you'll see the wheat banks and stuff are unkept. That's not unplanned. That is for all of the stuff to live right along the edge. But don't tell the food safety people that. They don't like it. So, any other questions about the physical farming of all Pfister? Oh yeah, and it's very copper deficient too. That does help a lot. Not boron though. Don't put boron on this soil. That does not need any more of that. So as you guys probably have already had somewhat explained, this was obviously the lower Klamath in lower Klamath Lake. So when everybody asks me, I don't even know why we only say Upper Klamath Lake instead of Klamath Lake. That's because this is lower Klamath. It was built when they had the railroad system over there. They just closed the head gate and connected the two. That's how they drained all of this and turned it into so actually what's neat about this is that they can be opened back up and that's good for your luck. Okay, moving on to the wetland. So as you guys know, we're driving over here. That giant head is over there, and that field is full of water. That was a potato field last year. So what we decided to try to do is, instead of trying to do a cover crop like everybody does and trying to go through and rebuild the soils, we started crunching the numbers on everything. And we kind of thought to ourselves, we're going to go put out a wheat crop or something like that. We're going to have all the tractor passes going into it. We're still going to have to add a little bit of conventional fertilizer to get it up. We're going to have to make all of those tractor passes with rototillers to put it back in, because you got to chop it and put it right back into the soil or else it's completely worthless. And when all that's said and done, I started looking at my budget on that, and I'm going, this is expensive. At the same time, that half of the field was a failed oat crop. So we knew we weren't going to harvest the oats, but there was plenty of oats available. So we kind of came with the idea, what if we just flooded this for a year, left the water on the whole time? It's going to get rid of the disease pressure. Better than putting a monocrop out there, because the best thing you can do for potatoes is have bare dirt for a year, year and a half. Not put any fertilizer or chemicals on it, and leave all the oats for the birds and see what happens. I think this is amazing. The really cool thing is all these tulies and everything you see right here. About a month and a half ago, about a month and a half ago, we had a hailstorm that came in here that was so thick, it flattened all that. It was completely and utterly gone, and it grew back that in a month, which I had no idea tulies could do. I mean, they were that tall within a week of popping back. We've had up to a couple 100,000 birds landing in that every single morning. Coming in, feeding. I mean, it is by far the #1 spot birds are landing, especially in the mornings. It's absolutely, the teal population really, really likes it. But this is our attempt to show what a farmer can do to just bring things back and play a better part in the whole ecosystem. You know, if we could just do this on 100 acres every year on a 1,000-acre farm, you can be giving a tithing back to Mother Nature at the same time actually saving money. And I think we can speed up our rotation on row crops by about 1 year. So instead of doing a 4-year rotation, we think we can get a 3-year rotation off of this. The big question is what's going to happen with all the weeds and the tulies when we work them in for breaking down in the soil, and what that's going to do. But we feel pretty confident we're going to start on that side next year. We'll do half that next year. Oats worm, and then we're going to do the side where the tulies really grew and gave that an extra year. But the goal would go potatoes. God willing, we have water, and go back and try this whole thing once again. So I think this was an outstanding success, and really shows how fast this entire area can just turn back into a wetland. I mean, the growth of the tule started within 30 days of the sun starting to get warm, April. So, I mean, I think this is outstanding. Plus, I'm getting all the bird manure. And my thought is we can try to manage Mother Nature all we want, but this amazing soil in this amazing area was literally created by having water and ducks and geese all over the place. And this is just bird proof. So why not just recreate what already worked and see if we can get back in the cycle where we don't take everything. Plus, we don't have to worry about the blowing. So we don't have to worry about, and I'm hoping we don't have to worry about the nitrification because, like I said, this ground will break down and turn into nitrogen pretty quickly, especially if you get a bunch of rainstorms that just sits, it's just going to break down naturally. We're kind of hoping this solves that problem and we're not even losing that. You know, a rotation like this can extend good farm ground potentially another 60, 70 years. So we'll see how it all works out, but you got to have enough water to do it. But I think it's important for people to see what can happen in just following a field for a year with water out here.
Are you going to do that here too?
It depends how this all turns out. And like I said, it's a rare situation in this basin to be able to do this, where I'm told we're going to have enough water to be able, we're going to flood all these up during the winter, but we drain them off in February, March. I would prefer to do this hands down right now if I knew I had the water possibility to do it. Like this potato field right here, I'd prefer this sat for 2 years underwater. Not make any money off of it, I'm okay. There's no government payments, nothing. You got $30,000, $40,000 in rent you got to pay for the year, but like I said, I was going to pay that much. Plus, if I get rid of the problems that I could have with potatoes, I mean, an application of nematicide is going to cost more than what this costs. So I mean, it really does pencil, and it really is better across the board. So it really depends on how much water and what frees up and how everything works. I mean, we all know water needs to go down the river for the fish. We all know we need extra water at particular times in the lake. What's the value of this versus those two things? Those are the questions we still have to start answering as a community of what do we need to do to maximize what we have with our resources. And there is no single answer, but I think everybody can agree it wasn't what we did for a long time of just not having any water on the refuge and not doing stuff like this at all. So
the refuges have Lower Klamath Refuge. I've farmed out here. My family's farmed out here since, well, the ranch was built in '30. But on the cooperative farm on the California side where we just came through, we're doing this wetland, what they call walking wetlands, but they were flooding land up for 3 to 5 years, and cooperative farm in the other part of the lease, and then trading them back and forth, and it was some of the best farm ground out there. Plus, cooperative farming, we left a quarter to a third of the grain for the ducks, and that was one of the reasons we said because of living plywood. But as Scotty says, when the ship water on died and quit, so this is kind of a start back up of that system. We know works and everything else. The weeds and everything else are shut down. The mice, you know, talk about the coyotes. I don't like coyotes being shot at my place either, and I have cows and everything else. But because they eat mice, and they're my worst enemy. Scotty said that 2-year alfalfa had snow for 90 days, covered up when it went off. They grew by his place, they were up to 160 acres of alfalfa and 200. I mean, that's how bad they eat that thing. It's just unreal. We've dealt with the mice here 90, another year when the Bureau wouldn't let us flood early, and then they finally let us flood. And literally, when we started putting water on, the ditch banks were red from the birds catching the mice coming up and going on the ditch banks and eating. I mean, there were that many, and they can be that nasty in this soil. So it is a huge thing, and that's one of the reasons we do a lot of winter flood is pesticide. I mean, rodent control is pesticide, but it's also very, very good for birds. And so, as Stuart said earlier, KDD has always tried working. How can we work to make the whole system better? And I'll explain a little more on the bus
No, and guys make their efforts. Last year, we idled over half of our ground up here. And other than DRA payments on some of them that were partial because they were already flooded, I mean, this is not a cost-effective way to make money. But we realized what we got to do. I mean, there's a lot of team players in the basin on everything, and this district in particular, we're pretty proud of. There's a lot of good ideas come out of it, and it's an awful lot of effort and an awful lot of our board meetings, because I'm on this board too, of just discussing how we're going to make sure that we're staying in the right light of working as a community. Really, I don't like when people say, you guys aren't growing the right crops, you're doing the wrong things, you're using too much water and everything else. I walk every one of these fields before we turn on a sprinkler. Every single time, no exceptions, to make sure we're doing what we can. We can get by with 1.6 to 1.9 acre feet of water on potatoes if we manage it extremely effectively. On a really hot year, we might hit 2. That's the best we can do. Unfortunately, this field right here probably was enough water to do LA for a week. Welcome to how water actually works. It's really, really high quantities in order to raise stuff like that, which is why it's really important to not overshoot by 10-15%. The winter flooding is an excellent way to accomplish what we're trying to do on that, because we pump the water back off before the temperatures rise, before we get the evaporation. If we can get the timing right, we can actually pump the water into the river. God willing, as the salmon are starting to actually reproduce in these sections now, their biggest issue is going to be food that time of year. Always is. You got to feed them. If we can get the bug population to start coming up on here as we're pumping off at the same time, we can literally be supplying all the fish food we need to make this restoration project go 3-4 times faster, which would be incredible. On the same note, if it is a tough water year, because of how much this soil can hold in soil holding capacity, it can hold like 18 inches for every 24 inches of soil. You can plant a grain crop out here, and if you time it right, those roots will chase down, and you can get about 80-90% of your crop without ever putting a drop of water on after cold water, which is huge. So I mean, and then we recapture the water in the drains out through the bottom that's not going to the aquifer, which is super important. And then we recirculate that, and we can survive off of that for another 50%. We can. I mean, this is as efficient as any farm. This isn't farming in the desert in Arizona. This isn't your stuff that they're doing in Idaho. This is as efficient as it can possibly get. It's wild. I mean, and then we put pivots on, so if we do got to water on top of it, we can do even applications. Those things aren't cheap, and they aren't handing out money for the day. They'll never pay for themselves if I'm doing it from a dollars and cents standpoint. What I'm doing now, never. But if I can justify a 50% water savings, I'm okay with that, because that's my job. I'm supposed to be doing that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's what farmers do. We give a damn about all this kind of stuff, because I want my kids to be able to at least come out here and see the Joe Blow that bought me out once we get the water situation figured out, and go, yeah, we maintain this. That's a joke, but only kind of. I maintain that one of the reasons that we have opportunities like this in this basin is because of the water situation, because if we had guaranteed water, we'd be like the Tri-Cities area or parts of Idaho or other areas. I mean, just bought up to the point where there are no little guys left. And there's a lot of that happening around the West. So, you know, pluses and minuses. You gotta look at the sunny side of it. Any other questions? That was that good, huh? You guys have talked about it, but all the research I've seen is the monoculture crops are the best way to get your bang for your buck on everything. If you try to mix everything, you don't get 100% efficiency across the board. So you're going to lose quite a bit of yield. And in the long run, you don't actually save a whole lot in the soils. You're better off to go in. Now, I might put like a lettuce, radish, triticale mix for a ground cover to work back into the soil, but if I'm doing it for actually trying to mix different crops. We tried peas mixed with potatoes one year. We found that our nitrogen levels were actually worse off. And once again, if you're trying to get to build up the soil, the most important thing to do is put them back into the soil before they burn up. Well, how do you rototill in strips this big of peas in between the potatoes that you got to pull out and that kind of stuff? So I haven't seen any good data to show that that's actually efficient practice. It was a popular thing at the time, I'm not going to lie. I tried it a couple different ways, but the more research I looked at, the more you were just creating more problems than you were solutions. Also, a monoculture crop does give you one benefit. You're only building up disease for one crop, which means that if you can switch to another crop the next, you can keep the diseases from coming up. I've had fields of potatoes where we got scabs where they got so severe we had to throw away like 95% of the crop because they just exploded last minute. So it's really important to not let the soils get completely out of health. But that's why it's important. It's just as important to fallow and do something like this as it is to just have a rotation of 4 or 5 crops. This is probably more important because this is how the system's supposed to work.
Okay, are there any other questions? Do we want, we left Mike McCullen's, but do we want to give any other opportunities to dog on Idaho? Because that seems
Yeah,
I know my Idaho farmer uncle is turning over his brain.
well, he can, and he deserves to. I'll tell you what. Fresh market potato prices, and this has a lot to do with tariffs, but it really has to do with oversupply. Shipping price, the processors for French fries and those kind of things all come back on contracts as their export went out, like decreased by 15-20%. Then everybody said, oh, let's just go ahead and put in like russet type potatoes instead. We've got a grower, we take their potatoes in Washington, we run them down to our potato shed right now. We are returning him per truckload the same cost of you guys buying a 5-pound bag. So that's where the agriculture is at right now. It is literally a $4,000 to $5,000 an acre loss you're taking right now on fresh market potatoes. I think people should be a little pissed that you're still paying the same prices as COVID influenced. That's just so, but yeah, we have a huge oversupply problem, and Idaho is definitely a big part of that. But Washington is too. We're innocent here. We're yeah.
So where does the consumer come to get fresh Klamath potatoes?
I like to promote Klamath Grown. If you haven't seen that, that's the Klamath Online Farmers Market. I sat on that board for a while. There's a lot of little startups. You're talking like 5-6 acre farms. They're selling their produce on there. I've helped get 2 people started in potatoes selling on that. When they come up short on supply, we'll sell ours too, and we'll also help fill niches. But the whole purpose of that is to try to get younger farmers active. I think it's fair to say, especially in today's world, jumping out and just becoming a farmer is extremely expensive, scary, and it can ruin your life if you hit a bad year. So I see the future of trying to get young people in things like CSAs and farmers markets, because then they can start generating enough income, figure out what they're good at, and then slowly try to expand. So I really like that. They have an online store. They also have a pickup location. I think they're still doing it at the Herald and News. Also, if anybody ever wants to swing by our packing shed, we're open Monday through Friday, and we just sell them out the door for the same cost that we're going to put them on a truck for.
And where are you located? Or is there...
Now, we're in Malin. We're in Malin. You take a ride at the post office, and you head over Circle C Market. But yeah, those are 2 options for buying potatoes. But I really like supporting some of those really small guys that are trying to start off with 5 or 6 acres and see what they can do. I'm extremely blessed. I'm a 5th generation farmer in the basin. My great-great-great-grandfather started off in cattle. I wish we would have kept that going, at least right now.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of history, a lot of background. Granted, when I first started farming, we owned no ground, and we've been trying to build up a base since. This is a hard gig, and if you don't have any backing and you're just trying to jump in and do it from scratch, and you end up jumping, like if you buy 500 acres for hay and you jump into it a year like this with hay prices, I mean, you're done. You're done, especially with the high interest rates. So, you know, the world's changing. It's really unfortunate that's how it's happened. I would really like to see that changed. I would really like to see smaller leases, and I'd like to see opportunity for other people. I think competition is great, but I think that's one of the things that makes this basin so fantastic is how many small growers we still have. They are a dying breed, but this is some of the toughest SOBs I have ever met because this is a hard place to grow and a hard place to make it work. My buddies that grow up in Washington and over in big parts of Idaho, they plant the potatoes, they put the pivots over it, a crop guy manages the fields, they got a guy that looks at a spreadsheet doing all the pivots, and then they hire custom guys to do all their digging. And they've got, especially in northern Oregon, southern Washington, they've got 9 months to do what we're doing in 6. So this is, I mean, we have a ton, I frost protected in the snow in July here. So I mean, it's not the same gig, but that's what's made us so resilient at the same time. And I think that's notable. There are a lot of good people here that have been doing a lot of good work trying to figure out, and I hope people can appreciate the dams coming out. Originally KBRA, Cox, that was initiated with the farmers trying to start all that kind of stuff. The dikes at Talana being blown on Nature Conservancy, huge disaster. Still, that was where we farmed as a kid. I was on that ranch for my childhood. But still, all the pivots people have put up, all of the way we've changed the way we do fertilizer and chemical applications, the whole shebang. I mean, this is wild how much work has gone into it, and hope people can see it's all moving in the right direction. It's easy to get caught up on it's all downhill and this is going extinct and everything else. This is amazing what everybody has accomplished. If we can just keep a positive mindset and work together and actually work together and not use the feds as our bargaining tools. I mean, there's a ton of potential to get this stuff solved. I want to leave that legacy for my son. And we're going to and my daughter. I think we'll get there. I really do think we're going to get there. I really have to see those salmon coming across the dam right now. I think that's freaking awesome. I'm worried about how they're going to treat them when they get in the river. I don't want to be the bad guy because all of a sudden they're blaming the farmers for everything else. That's been a real effective marketing tool for a lot of years. But, you know, we can also get some fish screen money. We can put all that we're already actively working with all this stuff. I mean, we've already got plans in place and trying to get ahead of the whole shebang. So I'd love to know what's killing all the suckers. Everybody has ideas, but you ask the USGS, they don't have a clue. That's the reality. Absolutely nobody knows what's going on with that. Nobody. And we managed the lake the same way since before I came back to farm. So we don't have any examples of any changes of what could be causing it because we did the same dang thing every year. So we have no variables to compare it to. You know, that stuff we just got to get. That used to be one of the biggest migrations of freshwater fish in North America. Yeah, damn right I think that needs to come back, but I don't know how to do it, but I wish we'd actually figure it out instead of spending lots of money on things we know works for trout. It's a sucker. We don't have a clue. It's a totally different species. They're an amazing fish. We can get through it. I think we'll make a recovery in my lifetime. We just got to have that groundbreaking moment when someone actually realizes what's killing them or what they need to successfully live, because there's a good chance they never wanted to be in Upper Klamath Lake in the first place. They might have wanted to be here. They might have wanted to be Tule Lake. They might have wanted to be up on the spring and all the springs that got channelized. We don't have a clue. So if we can figure that out, maybe we can make a difference. But that takes the whole community working together and actually looking for results, not just blowing a whole lot of money on things we have proven pretty well does not work in any way, shape, or form.
All right, is there anything else, any other questions before we load on the bus? Well, thank you very much, Scotty. Appreciate you taking the time to be out here with us today. And thank you for the potatoes.
Yeah. You guys have a fun rest of your day.
All right.